Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The vast stardusted expanse of Hyrcania, a region cradled between the Caspian Sea and the Elburz Mountains, presented a perennial challenge to those who gazed upon it. For Artabanus, a hypothetical figure whose intellectual footprints we can only begin to trace, the celestial sphere wasn't merely a source of wonder, it was a complex, intricate puzzle demanding rigorous mathematical solutions. Consider for a moment the problem of predicting lunar eclipses, a phenomenon of dramatic beauty and, in many ancient cultures, profound significance. Predicting the exact moment when the Earth would cast its shadow upon the moon, visible from a specific location in Hyrcania, presented a formidable challenge. Artabanus, we might imagine, approached this problem with a blend of meticulous observation and nascent mathematical rigor. His solution, drawing upon the accumulated wisdom of Babylonian astronomical records, likely involved a sophisticated understanding of the Saros cycle. This cycle, a period of approximately 18 years during which the Sun, Earth, and Moon return to nearly the same relative positions, is a cornerstone of eclipse prediction. Babylonian astronomers, centuries before, had painstakingly documented the recurrence of eclipses, meticulously charting their occurrences and cataloging their characteristics. Artabanus, if he existed, would have inherited this treasure trove of data. His methodology, as we might reconstruct it, likely involved a process of careful correlation and extrapolation. He would have analyzed Babylonian eclipse records, identifying patterns and regularities in their timing and appearance. He would have understood that eclipses occur when the Sun, Earth, and Moon align, and that the Saros cycle provides a framework for predicting these alignments. The challenge lay in refining this framework, accounting for the subtle variations in the orbital paths of the celestial bodies and the perspective from a particular location. A hypothetical example of Artabanus's work might be the creation of a dedicated observational tool, perhaps an early form of an astrolabe, a device for measuring the positions of celestial objects. This instrument, if he developed one, would have allowed him to accurately measure the positions of the Sun, Moon, and stars, providing essential data for his calculations. Equipped with this instrument, Artabanus could have charted the movements of the celestial bodies, creating tables that could predict the timing and duration of lunar eclipses visible from Hyrcania. These tables would have been more than simple compilations of data. They would have represented a sophisticated understanding of the underlying mathematical relationships governing the movements of the heavens. Consider the practical implications. The ability to predict eclipses would have provided immense advantages. It would have allowed Artabanus and his contemporaries to anticipate the arrival of these celestial events, to prepare for them, and to interpret their significance. The knowledge would have enhanced their understanding of the cosmos and reinforced their ability to anticipate the rhythms of the universe. The legacy of Babylonian astronomy and the hypothetical contributions of figures like Artabanus resonated throughout the ancient world. The meticulous observations and mathematical methods developed in Mesopotamia profoundly influenced later astronomical traditions, particularly those of the Greeks and Hellenistic civilizations. The Babylonian understanding of the Saros cycle, the meticulous recording of celestial events, and the development of sophisticated computational techniques provided a crucial foundation upon which later astronomers built. The influence of Babylonian astronomical data on later Greek and Hellenistic astronomy is undeniable. Figures like Hipparchus, a preeminent Greek astronomer, drew heavily on Babylonian records, incorporating their data into his own astronomical models. The transfer of knowledge was a complex process involving trade, cultural exchange, and the transmission of texts and ideas. Artabanus, if he existed, could have played a role in this transfer, bridging the gap between Babylonian and Persian astronomical traditions. The impact of Artabanus's hypothetical work would have extended beyond mere prediction. His methods, his observational techniques, and his mathematical insights would have contributed to a deeper understanding of the cosmos. His work, if it occurred, would have influenced subsequent generations of astronomers and calendar makers. The direct influences on Artabanus, given his context, would have been the Babylonian astronomers. Their meticulous records, their understanding of the Saros cycle, and their computational techniques provided the raw materials for his work. Artabanus would have needed to master these techniques to understand their underlying principles and to adapt them to his specific needs. He would have studied the Babylonian astronomical diaries, which recorded celestial events over centuries. The direct influence *on others, flowing from Artabanus's hypothetical contributions, could be seen in the subsequent Persian astronomers and calendar makers. His methods, his observational techniques, and his mathematical insights would have offered a path for others to follow. His work, if it took place, would have contributed to the development of more accurate calendars and a deeper understanding of the cosmos. His influence, therefore, would have extended beyond mere eclipse prediction. It would have fostered a culture of scientific inquiry and encouraged the development of sophisticated mathematical models. The essence of this essay, therefore, centers on the hypothesis that Artabanus of Hyrcania, a figure whose existence is currently undocumented, may have contributed significantly to early mathematical astronomy. His work, if it occurred, likely built upon the foundations laid by Babylonian astronomers employing their data and adapting their methods to address specific astronomical problems such as eclipse prediction. The enduring significance of his work, if it existed, lies in its potential contribution to the transfer of astronomical knowledge from Mesopotamia to the wider ancient world. It possibly influenced subsequent generations of astronomers and calendar makers, leaving a lasting impact on the development of scientific thought. This reconstruction, based on available historical context, offers a glimpse into the possible intellectual landscape of ancient Hyrcania, showcasing the potential for sophisticated scientific inquiry in the region. The exploration of planetary motion presented a complex challenge to ancient mathematical minds, a challenge that, if Artabanus engaged with it, likely drew upon the sophisticated mathematical models that were emerging in his time. Babylonian astronomers had already amassed centuries of observational data, meticulously charting the movements of celestial bodies. They possessed a profound understanding of arithmetic progressions and geometric relationships, crucial for predicting celestial events. Artabanus, if he existed and followed this tradition, would have inherited this rich legacy. His work, if it occurred, would have involved adapting and refining these techniques to address a specific set of problems accurately predicting the positions of planets in the sky. The core challenge lay in the apparent irregular motions of the planets. Unlike the Sun and Moon, which followed relatively predictable paths, Planets seemed to wander, sometimes slowing down, sometimes speeding up, even occasionally reversing direction in what is known as retrograde motion. To explain and predict these behaviors, Artabanus, hypothetically, might have adopted and adapted the prevailing Babylonian methods of modeling planetary motion. These methods, though complex, typically involved arithmetic and algebraic techniques. A key insight, if Artabanus possessed it, involved the understanding that planetary movements could be decomposed into simpler, more manageable components. He might have, for example, utilized a system that built upon the Babylonian understanding of planetary periods and their relationships. This involved identifying the repeating cycles in planetary motion, such as the synodic periods, which measure the time it takes for a planet to return to the same position relative to the Sun and Earth. By analyzing these cycles, Artabanus could have constructed tables that allowed for the prediction of planetary positions at various points in time. To account for retrograde motion, a challenge that deeply occupied astronomers, Artabanus, if he followed the prevailing methods, could have employed early forms of what would later become known as epicyclic models. These models, though not fully developed at the time, provided a framework for understanding planetary motion by superimposing circular motions. Imagine a planet moving in a small circle called an epicycle, whose center, in turn, moves along a larger circle, the deferent, centered on the Earth. This combination of motions could create the illusion of retrograde motion, allowing for a more accurate representation of a planet's observed path. While the full mathematical sophistication of later Greek epicyclic models was likely beyond the scope of his time, the fundamental concept of combining circular motions to explain complex behaviors was likely well established. Specific examples of Artabanus's hypothetical work might have included the creation of planetary tables. These tables, crucial to early astronomy, would have listed the predicted positions of planets at specific times, based on calculations derived from observed data and the chosen model. The construction of such tables required a deep understanding of arithmetic and geometry, as well as the ability to perform complex calculations. The Babylonian astronomical tradition, from which Artabanus likely drew inspiration, was characterized by its meticulous attention to detail and its emphasis on empirical observation. If Artabanus followed in this tradition, his tables would have reflected this rigor, providing a valuable tool for predicting planetary positions. Furthermore, Artabanus, if he engaged with planetary models, might have developed diagrams illustrating his proposed system. These diagrams, a visual representation of his mathematical model, would have been essential for communicating his ideas and demonstrating how the system worked. They would have depicted the relationships between the Earth, the Sun, and the planets, and would have shown how the combination of circular motions could account for the observed movements of the planets. Such diagrams, if they existed, would have served as a crucial bridge between abstract mathematical concepts and the concrete reality of the cosmos. The modern relevance of Artabanus's hypothetical work, if it occurred, lies in its contribution to the broader historical context of astronomical model development. Though his specific models, if they existed, may have been superseded by later, more sophisticated systems, the fundamental problem he addressed, predicting planetary positions, remains a cornerstone of astronomy. The early attempts to model planetary motion, including the use of epicyclic models, laid the groundwork for the development of more accurate and comprehensive systems. These early models, though ultimately incomplete, represent a crucial step in humanity's ongoing quest to understand the universe. The challenge of accurately predicting planetary positions, a problem that occupied astronomers for millennia, spurred the development of new mathematical techniques and observational methods. The direct influences on Artabanus, if he existed, would have been primarily the Babylonian astronomers who preceded him. They provided the data, the mathematical tools, and the conceptual framework upon which his work, if it occurred, would have been built. The Babylonian astronomers' meticulous observations and their ability to identify and predict cycles were essential for the development of any successful model of planetary motion. The influence of Babylonian mathematics, including their sophisticated use of base 60, would have been profound. The influence of Artabanus, if his work existed, on subsequent astronomers is a matter of speculation, given the lack of direct evidence. However, it is plausible that his system, if it existed, or aspects of his methodology, might have influenced later Greek astronomers, especially those who came into contact with Persian or Hellenistic cultures. The transmission of astronomical knowledge from Mesopotamia to the wider ancient world was a gradual process, facilitated by cultural exchange and the movement of scholars. Hipparchus, a pivotal figure in ancient Greek astronomy, who lived several centuries later, is a prime example of an astronomer who likely built upon the foundations laid by earlier thinkers. While direct evidence of Artabanus's influence on Hipparchus is absent, the possibility remains. Hipparchus's development of more sophisticated epicyclic models, his use of trigonometry, and his compilation of a stark catalog all represent significant advancements in astronomical modeling. These advancements build upon the work of earlier astronomers, including those who had access to Babylonian astronomical data and methods. In conclusion, the hypothetical contributions of Artabanus to the development of planetary models, if they existed, would have been a testament to the intellectual ferment of his time. Drawing upon the rich legacy of Babylonian astronomy, he, if he existed, could have contributed to the ongoing effort to understand and predict the movements of celestial bodies, the construction of planetary tables, the development of visual diagrams, and the application of early epicyclic models, if they occurred, would have represented significant advances in astronomical understanding. His work, if it existed, would have been a part of a larger historical trajectory, laying the groundwork for future generations of astronomers and contributing to the enduring quest to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos. The pursuit of astronomical accuracy, a hallmark of Artabanus's hypothetical intellectual endeavors, found a crucial outlet in the realm of calendar reform. The inherent challenge lay in reconciling the disparate rhythms of the cosmos, the apparent yearly journey of the sun, the monthly phases of the moon, and the irregular passage of the seasons. For civilizations relying on agriculture, ritual, and governance, a precise calendar was essential, and Artabanus, if he existed, would have grappled with this fundamental problem. His approach, if we are to imagine it, almost certainly built upon the foundational work of Babylonian astronomers, who had already accumulated centuries of observational data and developed sophisticated methods for predicting celestial events. The Babylonian calendar, a lunar solar system, served as a crucial predecessor. It recognized the lunar month, approximately 29.5 days, as the basis for its months, yet it also aimed to align with the solar year, the duration of the Earth's orbit around the sun, which dictates the cycle of seasons. This alignment was achieved through the periodic insertion of intercalary months, extra months added to the calendar at intervals to keep the lunar and solar years synchronized. The Babylonians had already developed complex rules for predicting these intercalations, often based on cycles and observations of the sun and moon. Artabanus says, if his work existed, understanding of these methods would have been crucial. He, if he existed, undoubtedly would have studied the existing Babylonian astronomical texts and tables, seeking to refine their accuracy and efficiency. The specific methods Artabanus, if he existed, might have employed to improve upon the Babylonian calendar are open to speculation, yet we can envision several plausible avenues. He, if he existed, might have focused on refining the determination of the solar year's length. While the Babylonians had a good approximation, Artabanus, if he existed, could have sought a more precise value, perhaps by analyzing long-term observational data, carefully tracking the solstices and equinoxes. This would have involved a meticulous process of observation, recording, and calculation. He, if he existed, might have developed new techniques for averaging observations over many years to minimize errors, a rudimentary form of statistical analysis. Such an approach would have yielded a more accurate solar year, leading to a more precise determination of the calendar structure. Furthermore, Artabanus, if he existed, could have sought to refine the lunar month's duration. The lunar month, the time it takes for the moon to complete one cycle of phases, is not a whole number of days. The Babylonian calendar already accounted for this, yet there was room, if Artabanus existed, for greater precision. He, if he existed, might have used more sophisticated techniques for measuring the moon's positions and phases, incorporating corrections for the moon's elliptical orbit and its varying speed across the sky. This would have resulted in a more accurate lunar calendar and a more reliable prediction of lunar eclipses, be vital for both astronomical and religious purposes. Tangible examples of Artabanus's, if he existed, work might have taken the form of a specific calendar system. Perhaps he, if he existed, proposed a modified version of the Babylonian calendar incorporating a more precise solar year length and a more refined system of intercalations. This system, if it existed, might have involved a longer cycle of intercalary months, allowing for a more accurate synchronization of the lunar and solar years. He, if he existed, might have created tables detailing the relationship between the solar and lunar cycles, providing a clear and concise way to predict the dates of the solstices, equinoxes, and lunar phases. These tables, if they existed, would have been invaluable for both astronomers and calendar keepers. The historical significance of calendar reform cannot be overstated. Accurate calendars were essential for agriculture, allowing farmers to plant and harvest crops at the optimal times. They were also crucial for religious rituals, ensuring that festivals and ceremonies were celebrated at the correct times. The Babylonian calendar, with its sophisticated system of intercalations, had a profound influence on later civilizations, including the Greeks and the Persians. Artabanus, if he existed, would have been part of this legacy, contributing to the ongoing effort to create a more precise and reliable calendar. His work, if it existed, would have been a step forward in the evolution of calendar systems. The impact of the Babylonian calendar on subsequent cultures is well documented. The Greeks, for example, adopted and adapted many of the Babylonian methods, integrating them into their own calendar systems. The Persians also drew heavily on Babylonian astronomical knowledge, developing their own sophisticated calendars. Artabanus's, if he existed, hypothetical contributions would have resonated with these developments. His work, if it existed, could have influenced the later Persian calendar systems, perhaps by providing more accurate astronomical data or by refining the methods for predicting intercalations. He, if he existed, may have also influenced the development of Greek calendar reforms, providing them with more precise astronomical data for their own calendar calculations. The influence of prior Babylonian calendar practices on Artabanus, if he existed, is undeniable. He, if he existed, would have had access to an extensive body of astronomical knowledge, including detailed records of celestial observations and sophisticated methods for predicting eclipses and other astronomical events. He, if he existed, would have studied these texts and tables, learning from the successes and failures of his predecessors. The Babylonian approach to intercalations, the use of cycles to predict the movements of the sun and moon, and the careful tracking of the solstices and equinoxes would have all served as a foundation for his, if he existed, own work. The influence of Artabanus, if he existed, work on others is difficult to ascertain with certainty, given the hypothetical nature of his contributions. However, we can speculate on some potential avenues of influence. His, if he existed, calendar system, if it existed, might have been adopted by later astronomers and calendar keepers who would have benefited from its greater accuracy. His, if he existed, methods for calculating the length of the solar year and the lunar month could have influenced the development of more precise calendar systems in subsequent centuries. His, if he existed, work may have also had a more indirect impact. His contributions, if they existed, could have inspired other astronomers and mathematicians to explore new methods for understanding the cosmos. In essence, the hypothetical contributions of Artabanus to calendar reform, if they existed, would have been a testament to the enduring human quest for precision and order. His work, if it existed, would have built upon the legacy of Babylonian astronomy, refining the existing methods and pushing the boundaries of astronomical knowledge. His, if he existed, specific solutions, such as a refined calendar system and detailed tables, would have had practical applications in agriculture, religion, and governance. His, if he existed, legacy, if it existed, would be woven into the fabric of calendar systems, contributing to the evolution of our understanding of time itself. The hypothetical Artabanus, if he existed, likely engaged with mathematical tools and techniques, particularly in the context of astronomical calculations and calendar reform. The Babylonians, whose astronomical and mathematical knowledge formed a critical foundation, directly influenced his, if he existed, approach. Their sophisticated understanding of arithmetic, algebra, and geometry provided the essential building blocks. He, if he existed, would have inherited a rich legacy of numerical methods, including the use of sexage simulnotation, a base 60 system, which facilitated complex calculations. This system, developed centuries before, permitted the precise representation of fractions and the manipulation of large numbers, crucial for astronomical computations. Consider, for example, the problem of determining the length of the synodic month, the time it takes for the moon to return to the same phase. The Babylonian astronomers had already developed methods for predicting lunar phases, but these methods likely involved approximations. Artabanus, if he existed, may have sought to refine these calculations, potentially by employing geometric techniques. He, if he existed, could have utilized the concept of similar triangles to calculate distances and angles within the celestial sphere. This method allowed him, if he existed, to relate the apparent motion of the moon to its actual position, thereby improving the accuracy of the synodic month determination. Furthermore, the Babylonians were adept at using ratios and proportional reasoning. Artabanus, if he existed, could have built upon this foundation by creating tables of ratios to relate different astronomical quantities. For instance, if he existed, might have constructed a table correlating the angular velocity of the moon with the time elapsed. Such a table would have simplified the process of predicting lunar positions, allowing for more precise calendar adjustments. The development of such tables required a deep understanding of proportional relationships, a mathematical skill that the Babylonians had honed over centuries of astronomical observation. The potential use of early algebraic techniques, though less documented, presents another avenue of exploration. The Babylonians employed rudimentary algebraic methods to solve problems involving areas, volumes, and interest calculations. Artabanus, if he existed, could have adapted these techniques to astronomical problems. For instance, if he existed, might have formulated equations to model the motion of celestial bodies, perhaps using linear or quadratic equations to approximate their trajectories. The development of these algebraic tools, even in their nascent form, would have represented a significant advance in the mathematical modeling of the cosmos. A concrete example of Artabanus's, if he existed, possible work that involved the creation of a geometric proof to determine the precise moment of a solar or lunar eclipse. Given the Babylonian interest in predicting eclipses, if he existed, might have sought to improve the accuracy of these predictions. If he existed, could have devised a geometric construction that allowed for the precise calculation of the positions of the sun, moon, and earth at any given time. This construction would have involved the use of angles, arcs, and chords to represent the relative positions of these celestial bodies. This geometric approach, if it existed, would have been a significant advance, providing a more rigorous and accurate method for predicting these astronomical events. The impact of Babylonian mathematical knowledge is undeniable. The influence of their sophisticated numerical methods, their geometric insights, and their early algebraic techniques would have been profound. Artabanus, if he existed, would have been a beneficiary of this rich intellectual heritage, drawing upon their knowledge to advance his own astronomical and teleological work. The development of mathematics during this period was a collaborative effort, with each generation building upon the achievements of its predecessors. The influence of Artabanus's, if he existed, mathematical techniques, even if hypothetical, could have extended to subsequent generations of astronomers and mathematicians. The early development of trigonometry, for instance, could have been indirectly influenced by his, if he existed, geometric approaches. The use of angles, arcs, and chords in his geometric constructions, if they existed, may have laid the groundwork for the later development of trigonometric functions. Moreover, his, if he existed, work may have contributed to the refinement of algebraic methods. The application of algebraic techniques to astronomical problems, even in a limited capacity, could have inspired others to explore the potential of algebra in modeling the cosmos. The enduring historical significance of these mathematical tools lies in their role in shaping the evolution of scientific thought. The development of precise methods for calculation, the use of geometric constructions, and the application of algebraic techniques all contributed to the growth of scientific knowledge. These tools allowed astronomers to make more accurate observations, to develop more sophisticated models, and to gain a deeper understanding of the universe. The legacy of these early mathematical endeavors is woven into the fabric of modern science, providing the foundation for the advanced techniques and technologies that we rely on today. It is through the study of these early efforts that we can truly appreciate the remarkable progress that has been made in the field of mathematics and astronomy. The methods and techniques developed, if they existed, by Artabanus and his, if he existed, contemporaries, represent a crucial stage in the evolution of mathematical and scientific thought. Their work, if it existed, paved the way for later advancements, influencing the development of trigonometry, algebra, and other critical mathematical tools. The precision and rigor of their methods, if they existed, served as a model for future generations of scientists, inspiring them to seek ever greater accuracy in their observations and calculations. The impact of their, if they existed, work is still felt today, as we continue to rely on the mathematical and scientific principles that they helped to establish. The hypothetical legacy of Artabanus, should he have existed, extends far beyond the specific details of his, if they existed, mathematical and astronomical endeavors. The true significance of his, if he existed, work lies in its profound influence on the very fabric of scientific thought. The meticulous approach to observation, the rigorous methods of calculation, and a relentless pursuit of accuracy, if they existed, would have served as a cornerstone for future generations of scientists. These principles, if they existed, are the essence of the scientific method, and their earlier articulation, if it occurred, represents a pivotal moment in the history of human knowledge. Consider, for instance, the potential impact of Artabanus's, if he existed, work on later Greek astronomers. The precision, if it existed, if he existed, employed in his, if it existed, astronomical observations, and the sophistication, if it existed, of his, if he existed, mathematical models, if they existed, could have directly influenced the work of figures like Hipparchus and Ptolemy. The emphasis, if it existed, on accurate measurement and the development, if it existed, of predictive models would have provided a crucial foundation for their own groundbreaking contributions. The very idea of creating a system to predict celestial movements, a core tenet of Ptolemaic astronomy, might have been directly inspired by Artabanus's, if he existed, early efforts, if they existed, to model the cosmos. This, if it existed, represents a direct line of intellectual influence, showcasing how the work of an early, if he existed, thinker could shape the course of scientific inquiry centuries later. The dissemination of Artabanus's, if he existed, ideas, if they existed, would have likely occurred through the established channels of intellectual exchange prevalent in the ancient world. The transmission of knowledge often relied on the circulation of texts, the establishment of libraries, and the interactions between scholars. The potential influence of Artabanus, if he existed, would have been amplified at his, if he existed, work had been translated into other languages, allowing it to reach a wider audience. The availability of his, if he existed, findings, if they existed in prominent libraries, such as the Library of Alexandria, would have ensured their accessibility to future scholars, solidifying his, if he existed, place in the historical record. The continuous dialogue, if it existed, between mathematicians and astronomers, fostered by the exchange of ideas and a critique of existing theories, would have played a critical role in the evolution of scientific thought. The absence of extensive documentation, if he existed, concerning Artabanus, if he existed, presents a distinct challenge to historians and scholars. Reconstructing the intellectual landscape of the ancient world necessitates a careful examination of available evidence, including surviving texts, archaeological findings, and secondary sources. The task requires a degree of speculation, informed by a thorough understanding of the historical context and the scientific principles of the era. The potential reconstruction of his, if he existed, work demands a critical approach, recognizing the limitations of the available data. The challenge lies in constructing a coherent narrative from fragmented evidence, while avoiding anachronistic interpretations. The emphasis, if any, must be on the potential influence and impact of Artabanus's, if he existed, work, rather than making definitive claims about the specifics of his, if he existed, contributions. The study of Artabanus, if he existed, and other lesser-known figures, if they existed, in scientific history holds a significant importance. It challenges the conventional narratives that often focus on a select group of celebrated individuals. Recognizing the contributions of those who may have been overlooked or forgotten offers a more complete and nuanced understanding of the historical progression of mathematics and science. It underscores the collaborative nature of scientific endeavor, highlighting the interconnectedness of ideas and the cumulative impact of numerous contributions. The inclusion of these figures enriches our understanding of the past, revealing the complexity and diversity of the intellectual pursuits. The enduring relevance of studying early scientific endeavors, if they occurred, lies in its ability to illuminate the evolution of scientific thought. By examining the methods, the challenges, and the triumphs of early scientists, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the scientific method. The analysis of early endeavors, if they existed, allows us to understand the roots of modern scientific practices. The study of their work, if it existed, reveals the intellectual context in which modern science emerged. The insights gained from studying early scientific endeavors, if they existed, provide a valuable perspective on the development of scientific knowledge. The hypothetical existence of Artabanus, if he existed, serves as a reminder of the importance of recognizing the contributions of all individuals. His, if he existed, work, if it existed, offers a valuable perspective on the early development of mathematical and astronomical thought. His, if he existed, legacy, if it existed, underscores the importance of critical thinking, rigorous methodology, and the pursuit of knowledge. The potential influence of Artabanus, if he existed, on the development of science highlights the significance of studying the history of science. His, if he existed, story, if it existed, reminds us that scientific progress is a collaborative endeavor built upon the contributions of many individuals. The study of early endeavors, if they occurred, provides a rich understanding of the intellectual and cultural forces that have shaped modern science. The enduring relevance of studying early scientific endeavors, if they existed, remains a critical component of understanding the evolution of scientific thought.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.